I'm your host, Eric Forsetter. As always, thank you for watching another terrific edition of this week's EQ Video Tip. Before we get into the tip, let's review the goals of EQ Video Tip. What's on tap for today? Well, we have a great story from Kelly Greenwood, who talks about leaders sharing their own mental health to help engender trust, become an ally to their staff and to their people, and really understand what mental health means to people who are out there. And EQ is all about mental health, not only your own, but your teammates, your coworkers, your family, your friends. And it's important to recognize this on a day-to-day basis. People have mental challenges that they go through on a daily basis, and we don't know a lot about what's happening in someone else's lives. We're going to go through, talk about why it's important, as well as how you can convey this message in a good manner. Let's jump into some of Kelly's tips. Tip number one, some of the benefits of being an ally to mental health. Well, many people are going through challenges that we talked about, and when you open up and are vulnerable, it engenders trust both for your team as well as for yourself in explaining what you went through. It's important to realize that people go through different challenges. While your mental health challenge may be extremely difficult for you, it may be nothing compared to something that someone else went through. Think about that as you're crafting your message and what you're going to do, and we'll go into that in a second, but it's important to talk about it and to open up and to show some vulnerability so that you engender trust and acknowledge that mental health is a challenge out there today. Tip number two, craft your story and then decide whether and how you're going to tell it. It's important to get your story down and get it straight, but also to make sure, does it make sense professionally to talk about it, and what would it mean to you as well as your team? And when you're doing that, it might make sense, depending on what your career is, that you do it in a team meeting. Maybe it's a one-on-one conversation. Maybe you don't feel comfortable in telling it in a certain environment based on your work, but you'd rather write it down. Whatever it is, make sure you craft the story, write it down at first, and figure out the best medium to convey it as well. Once you have that, then you can figure out what it's going to mean to your staff, to your teammates, and to your coworkers as you go through and explain your story. Remember, it's your story, it's personal, but it's something that you want to share with people to engender their trust and also highlight the importance of acknowledging mental health problems in today's world. Tip number three, speak from the first person, like as an I as opposed to we, and think about the big picture as well. When you're talking about a mental health situation, you want to talk about your own. Don't talk about your friends, your family, your coworker. It's not an us versus them sort of thing. You want to talk about, I went through this was the challenge that I faced, and then talk about the bigger picture, how other people might be doing this, or how these things affect you personally, and how something else may affect someone else personally. Again, it's important to strive for inclusion within this so that people understand it's okay to share this and how certain things may impact them, whether it's a word someone says or there's different triggers in the world, whatever it is. But acknowledge it with an I first and explain how it impacts you as well. Next tip, name why mental health matters at work and have a call to action. It's so important to have a call to action to give maybe statistics of what it means to go through mental health, and more importantly, what the workplace environment is going to do to help fix it and help make it easier. And I shouldn't say fix, but help improve upon mental health for their workers and for their staff. So think about calls to action and encourage people to speak up about it, whether it's in a team meeting or one-on-one individually, whatever it might be. But we're all going through different challenges, and make sure people feel okay to talk about the mental challenges they go through on a day-to-day basis. Our last tip, consider your tone. Whatever your tone is, make it authentic. It might mean that you weave humor in. It might just mean that you have a serious tone. Whatever it is, consider it for your audience as well as for yourself. And consider what details you want to share. Some people have gone through some very traumatic details that might trigger someone else's mental health. So think about the tone, what you convey, and how you convey it as well. It's really important to do that, and maybe talk to someone beforehand to get their sense and their reaction to what it might be before you share with the group so that you have someone to review what you're talking about. Hopefully these help you out. That's a wrap for this week's EQ video tip. It's obviously a very challenging and important subject that we should all address, and it's something that is very common in the workspace today, in the family life, in our friends' life. Mental health challenges are very serious, so if you have a problem, make sure you're talking to someone about it and you're seeking help as well. Hopefully these tips help you out in making your workplace a better environment. So that concludes our EQ video tip for today. Try incorporating some of these tips into your daily routine. But remember, use what works best for you and personalize it for yourself. Thank you always to our great research team for providing us with some great tips today. As always on EQ video tip, we want to end with gratitude. So thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Here are some resources that you can use if you want more information on EQ going forward. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.